Stop scrolling because Disney's Snow White just got banned.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Yes, banned.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
In a major international market.
That said, our primary purpose is to entertain. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
And no, it's not because of Gal Gadot, politics, or some old school cartoon beef.
So from the casting to the class politics, the sexual politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal.
The real reason? Rachel Zegler's mouth.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
That infamous interview where she shaded the original prince, trashed the 1937 storyline, and declared her Snow White don't need no man?
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Yeah, I have a clip of it.
Oh, okay, great.
Her being a retard.
Okay.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That
is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Yeah, that clip didn't just go viral. It triggered real-world consequences.
You ever wonder what happens when you mix hot lava and chicken?
Censorship boards pulled up receipts, dissected her quotes, and stamped a big red denied on the film.
That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really bad.
And now, word on the street is Malaysia, Kuwait, and even some Latin American markets are reviewing the movie next.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face
Go
of a
vote blue.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
All this off a single talk show appearance where Zegler decided to rebrand a classic fairy tale into a motivational TED Talk.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
The ban is just the latest disaster in a project already buried under controversy, awkward interviews, empty theaters, and fans yelling "Not my Snow White" across every platform.
But the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
This isn't just a movie flop, it's a live-action car crash with Disney's golden goose swan diving off a cliff. And the wildest part, the star at the center is still acting like she did something revolutionary instead of, nuking a billion-dollar brand.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got
Snow
announced,
White!
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Grab a seat because this rabbit hole goes deep, and the meltdown is way messier than you think.
We need to No, you don't. It's not your job. Your job is to entertain. You are paid to entertain.
It started like any other promo tour appearance. Rachel Zegler on The View, looking polished, smiling, ready to sell Disney's next big fantasy reboot. But in less than 60 seconds, the vibe turned nuclear.
Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
Cameras rolled, and Zegler casually dunked on the original 1937 Snow White, calling it a weird story about a girl waiting for a random prince to kiss her without consent.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
She bragged that the remake ditches all that outdated nonsense, and her Snow is a modern, independent queen with no time for love.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That is not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
The host smiled nervously, a producer started waving off camera, and she just kept going. freestyling about how she never liked the original story and thought it was creepy, even dropping in unrelated political commentary. It was like watching a fairy tale crash into a Twitter thread in real time.
And so it was like
those people.
very much this, yes. It was this
people that we
awakening
need to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
love them in the right direction.
The internet didn't even wait for the ad break. Clips of her rant flooded TikTok, lip syncs went viral, and reaction videos popped up faster than Disney could call a lawyer. Where Snow Fight trended by sunset, every YouTube pundit, meme page, and culture warrior grabbed a slice of the chaos. That one moment flipped the entire narrative.
And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible.
Fans who were still on the fence suddenly dipped. Parents raised eyebrows. Executives panicked. And theater chains began to wonder if they were about to screen a flop. Spoiler alert, they were.
In every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse.
Then came the real-world consequences. Just days after the meltdown, a Middle Eastern country straight up banned the movie from playing in theaters. While official statements blamed regional sensitivities, insiders spilled that the real trigger wasn't politics. It was Rachel Zegler.
It basically, this movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter of liberalism. It wasn't through a filter of Japanese anime, it was through a filter of liberalism.
According to sources, the country's media watchdog watched her interview, flagged it for cultural disruption, and refused the import. Just like that, the film was pulled. No drama, no warning, just gone. And that one decision sent a shockwave through Disney's global distribution plans.
So from the casting to the class politics, the sexual politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal.
Other markets started getting cold feet. Malaysia's censorship board stalled approval. Kuwait scheduled a second internal review. And whispers started popping up that even a few Latin American territories were getting uncomfortable with how far the movie strayed from the original.
Snow White is generally understood to be a very, very white person. And in this case, they decided, nope, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't think we're allowed to say that, right? I was referring to the movie as sand beige.
The fallout was immediate. Box office projections got slashed. Marketing teams held emergency calls. Executives pulled late nights trying to patch holes in a ship that was clearly taking on water.
It's no really knock on her. If you did the autobiography of Malcolm X, would you cast Tom Hanks? If you remade Moana, would you cast a little Irish guy? No, you wouldn't. So that was off the top.
What made it worse? Gal Gadot, who everyone thought would be the controversial one, was barely mentioned. It was Zegler's interview that broke the camel's back. Now Disney was on defense globally, and the movie's reputation was toast before it even hit half the world's theaters. One ban became a blueprint. And every new country reviewing the film looked at Zegler's face like it came with a warning label.
It is not racist to suggest that a character who is described in the original as skin white as snow, that is literally how the character is described in the original, that's a character description in the same way that, as you mentioned, in Moana.
Back home, the damage was just as brutal. When Snow White finally hit US theaters, it didn't even stumble. It face-planted. Opening weekend numbers were abysmal. Less than $90 million worldwide on a $250 million budget? That's not just a flop. That's a financial wipeout.
This bizarre fixation with race shifting everything, but only in one direction by Disney, obviously is quite strange.
Social media lit up with photos of completely empty theaters. One viral image showed a girl dressed as Snow White sleeping across 4 empty seats with the caption, "Not even the dwarfs showed up." And the biggest shocker, AMC, the largest theater chain in the US, pulled the movie. Like, completely. Over 1,000 screens gone.
Rachel Zegler then inexplicably continued to post herself in an empty theater for her own movie. She's literally the only person there. Meanwhile, the experience at Minecraft goes something like this.
Chicken
They didn't even try to finesse it. They straight up replaced Snow White with mid-budget action flicks and rom-coms that were doing better per screen. Theater staff even posted memes celebrating the switch like it was a liberation. Meanwhile, Disney tried to spin it as a strategic pivot, but internal leaks told the real story.
Warner Brothers' Minecraft movie versus Disney's Snow White. which in theory should be quite a battle, but it's not even a fair fight.
Refund requests were piling up, concession revenue tanked, and showtimes were getting axed faster than you can say poisoned apple. Foreign distributors, already rattled by the ban, followed AMC's lead and started trimming showtimes too. It wasn't just a box office L, it was a full-scale theatrical rejection. Studios usually pray for strong second weekends. Snow White didn't even survive the first one. While theaters emptied, the internet filled with fire. Hashtags like "Not My Snow White," "Ter7wokes," and "Poisoned IP" were everywhere. Meme pages lit up with edits of Zegler's face over the evil queen. Twitter threads broke down every cringy quote she ever gave, from "True love is a scam" to "Princesses don't need saving." YouTubers roasted her on the daily. Joe Rogan called the film a masterclass in how to ruin your own movie. Late-night hosts made jokes. Even Disney stans couldn't defend it. A few fans tried to trend her "Let Rachel Speak," but it backfired. Nobody wanted her to keep talking. Brands started pulling out of collabs. One cereal company shelved a Snow White spoon set. A makeup brand quietly dropped their Apple-themed palette. Even TikTok creators stopped using the movie's soundtrack in dance videos. When TikTok bails on your Disney musical, you know it's toast.
Snow White, of course, famously played by the insufferable girl boss narcissist, who's just clinical at this point, saying that audiences will always line up to see her no matter what she does.
Every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Internal metrics showed a direct link between Zegler going viral and ticket sales dipping. Every time she trended, fewer people clicked the trailer. She became the main character of a movie people hadn't even seen, but not in a good way. And the worst part? The internet had decided this wasn't just a flop. This was a meme-fueled implosion of Disney's entire live-action brand. Away from the internet circus, the set of Snow White was reportedly a dumpster fire with fairy lights. Gal Gadot, cast as the evil queen, was flown in for not one, not two, but 3 reshoot sessions after early screenings flopped hard. And we're not talking minor tweaks. Whole character arcs were rewritten overnight to tone down jokes that test audiences said felt like corporate TikTok bait. Meanwhile, leaked photos showed half-painted dwarf cottages abandoned because budget got rerouted last minute to CGI edits after backlash over dwarf casting. Crew members whispered that morale was dead by week 3. VFX artists were pulling 16-hour shifts only to be told their sequences had been scrapped in favor of new tone adjustments. Then there were the rumors. Zegler allegedly made jabs about Gadot's accent during a break, which led to the two leads avoiding each other entirely during the final days of filming. A grip on set said it felt like senior year group project energy, but with a $250 million burn rate. Rewrites kept pouring in like clockwork. Staff joked that the script had more versions than the iPhone, and instead of building excitement, every fix made things feel more stitched together, like a Frankenstein fairy tale designed by committee. One source even claimed the call sheet had a no-press interaction clause by week 5 because no one trusted what might get said. With everything crumbling, Disney called in the big guns. Enter Operation Apple Pie, a full-on crisis response mission led by Bob Iger himself. Think early morning boardrooms, caffeine, and a bullet point plan with one goal: stop the bleeding. Step 1, gag Rachel Zegler. No more unscripted interviews. Step 2, flood the internet with old-school Snow White clips. The bird scene, the cleaning montage, whatever might stir some leftover nostalgia. Step 3, whisper to fans that the streaming version might restore some of the romance to appease old-school Disney lovers. But the damage was already too deep. Emails leaked almost instantly showing Disney debating a fast-track dump to Disney+, internally labeled tourniquet mode. Shareholders lit up Reddit and investor forums with jokes about Disney giving CPR to a corpse. Even brand partners got spooked. A cereal collab was quietly shelved. A beauty brand dropped their snow-themed palette. TikTok creators stopped making sponsored content. Meanwhile, legal teams rushed to tighten future contracts. One leaked document showed a new clause called the Z Rule, banning political takes during promo tours. But the data spoke louder than contracts. Analytics showed that every time Zegler's face went viral, ticket interest dropped like a rock. Even internal charts nicknamed the trend the Avalanche. Operation Apple Pie didn't stop the fire, it just slowed it down enough to hope fans forgot before Disney's next movie hit theaters. As Disney scrambled, foreign censorship boards were making moves of their own. Malaysia's Film Review Board hit pause, calling the story out of alignment with cultural expectations. 2 Gulf states were reportedly reviewing the film again with the help of local religious scholars. Even in Canada, normally chill, About most content, parent advocacy groups sent letters questioning why Snow White was suddenly so aggressively defiant. Behind the scenes, Disney's international risk team drafted a color-coded map. Red for banned, orange for pending, yellow for safe. And that map? It was turning redder by the week. Box office analysts warned that if even 2 mid-tier territories pulled out, the movie's global earnings could fall below $150 million, a total financial faceplant. Meanwhile, industry talent agents started using Rachel Zegler as a cautionary tale. She was reportedly labeled unbookable for family films in several agency circles. One insider joked she'd have to do a gritty horror movie to cleanse her brand before getting near another castle. Back at Disney HQ, 2 upcoming live-action remakes were quietly shelved, and future leads are now being assigned personal PR. Coaches. It's not just about this movie anymore, it's about how studios will treat any fairy tale reboot moving forward, and lurking behind every call sheet now, the fear that another unscripted Zegler moment could crash the next billion-dollar bet. Here's where it gets tragic. A leaked test screening report dropped like a bombshell. Early audiences in 2024, before the Zegler rewrites, actually liked the movie. The version shown back then had a charming prince, a balanced storyline, and a tone much closer to the 1937 original. Audiences gave it a 75% approval rating. Fast forward to the final version, that score dropped to 56. Why? Because after Zegler got more creative control, the script shifted. Romantic arcs were slashed. Monologues about finding your own path replaced traditional fairy tale moments. The prince barely had a role. One slide in the report literally read, "Heart removed, outcome uncertain." That one line pretty much sums up the entire mess. Disney paid millions to fix something that wasn't broken, based on feedback that only played well on social media. Worse? Another report showed the reshoots alone could have funded 2 entire animated movies. Rival studios reportedly printed the before and after charts and passed them around meetings as a warning. Even die-hard defenders had to admit, this wasn't the internet's fault. It was a creative pivot that lost the plot. Internal emails tried to spin the reports as outdated data, but then a second leak confirmed the same plunge. Now, analysts argue the meltdown didn't start with The View. It started the moment the studio let its lead actor become its loudest creative voice. So here we are, a once iconic Disney princess rebooted into a box office catastrophe, banned from screens, yanked from theaters, and clowned into meme history. Snow White 2025 won't be remembered for its message or performances. It'll be remembered as the movie that torched a legacy in real time. In boardrooms across Hollywood, it's now a cautionary tale. Don't let your star outtalk your story, don't modernize so hard you lose the magic, and definitely don't underestimate the power of a bad press cycle. Studios are already rewriting their policies. Actors are getting PR coaches before casting calls. Interview clauses are tighter than ever, and in the background, everyone's quietly wondering, if Disney can't protect a tentpole like Snow White, what's safe anymore? Fans are savvier now. They don't just watch the trailers, they watch the interviews, the leaks, the memes, and in this case, they watched a billion-dollar brand crash because one person didn't know when to stop talking. The real poisoned. Apple wasn't in the story. It was in the press tour. And the aftertaste, it's gonna linger for a long, long time.